Let's bring in Jonathan Schanzer. He's the Senior Vice President for Research at the FDD. Thank you very much for being with us, Jonathan. So, I mean, Hamas is clearly going back on its part of the deal, isn't it? What can President Trump do to make sure they comply?
Well, first, I think we need to understand that it's not just going back on the question of returning the slain hostages, which was a big part of the deal, but also not disarming, engaging in all manner of brutality on the streets of Gaza as an attempt to reestablish control. These summary executions that are taking place on the streets, this is all designed to scare the Gazan people into falling in line with the government of Hamas, if you will. So it's very clear they're not interested in leaving. And I don't think that's a surprise. This is a terrorist organization that's been around since 1988. This is a long time. It's a long run for a terrorist organization. Of course, they're not interested in just dismantling themselves. They're going to have to be forced. So then comes the question of where is the leverage? I don't see the United States going in and dropping bombs on Hamas. There's not much more to do in that department. The Israelis have done quite a bit there already. There are additional opportunities to strike at the heart of this terrorist organization, Gaza City in particular. There's still infrastructure that's left, but that's an Israeli job. It's not an American job. Where I think the U.S. does have leverage, though, is with the two primary patrons of Hamas, outside of Iran, of course, where there's not a lot of leverage. But the Qataris and the Turks are the ones that have been keeping Hamas solvent, if you will, in terms of politics, in terms of its acceptability in the international arena. This is where Donald Trump should just go to the Qataris and the Turks and say, you brought these guys to the table. You promised me that there was going to be a deal. If this falls through, then neither of you get the perks that you asked for from the United States. No security guarantees, no American weapons, no deeper alliances. This is on you right now to fix, not on the United States. That should be the rhetoric of Donald Trump, and I think he should be saying it publicly and privately. These are two sponsors of Hamas that have been masquerading as American allies. They need to be held to account, and they need to deliver their client, Hamas, to the table.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because I've just been speaking to your colleague, Sinan Sidi, about he believes that Turkey may use these search and rescue teams who are ostensibly going into Gaza to try and locate the missing remains of deceased hostages. He believes that Turkey may use those groups to try and rearm Hamas. Specifically on Qatar, Donald Trump seems to have already given Qatar quite a lot of perks. They were the guests of honor over in Sharm el-Sheikh on Monday as well. Do you think he's interested in putting more pressure on Qatar? And do you think Qatar is looking possibly to wash its hands of Hamas?
Look, I don't know where any of these countries are, right? I mean, it's a moving target with both. Both countries were decidedly working against American interests as of a month ago. And then all of a sudden, after the Israeli airstrike in Doha on September 9th, that was, in my view, the thing that shifted the window. That was the moment where the Qataris said, whoa, wait a minute. We're now in danger as a result of this strategy of supporting Hamas while also trying to secure a hostage deal. This was never something that I think they could reconcile. I certainly couldn't. And so now, I think Donald Trump has used American leverage. He said, okay, well, if you want things from us, like security guarantees, here's what you have to do. He said the same thing to the Turks. And I do think that's what got us to the release of the live hostages. I think everybody right now, the Qataris, the Turks, Hamas, maybe others, are thinking, all right, let's stop and see if we can get away with only releasing those live hostages and try to drag out the rest of this process. This is the moment where Donald Trump can say, look, I can give you these things, but I can easily take them away. I can make your life miserable or I can make it better. Deliver. That's what I think they should be asking. Now, as to the question of whether the Turks or the Qataris should be on the ground in Gaza, my answer is absolutely not. This is putting the fox in charge of the hen house, so to speak. They should not have boots on the ground. These are Hamas sponsors at the end of the day. They've been providing the money, the weapons, the training, the ideology. This has been going on for more than a decade and a half, in fact. Both countries have been intimately involved in the terrorist activities of Hamas. They should have no role in post-conflict Gaza. They should have no contact with Hamas at all. given what they have proven themselves to be over the last decade and a half, and that is state sponsors of terrorism. Why we have allowed this here in the United States is still puzzling to me. But I would say that if I learned anything over the last several days, watching this deal come to pass, watching these hostages be released, it is that we need a new alliance structure in the Middle East. The U.S.-led alliance structure did not work, and we can see the failings of it very much just in the countries and the leaders of Qatar and Turkey.
Yeah, there's certainly no appetite in Israel to go back to square one. I think that's for sure. Jonathan Schanzer at the FDD, great to talk to you as always. Thank you so much.